cosine inverse of x does not equal the secant of x. We start with the circle. We take a cut out of it that's 60 degrees. All the way around the circle is 360 degrees. So this is a proportion of 60 degrees out of 360 degrees. All the way around the circle is also 2 pi r, or in other words, 2 pi radians. If we make this piece right here equal to x, this x is going to be 60 out of 360 of the 2 pi radians. If we make the radius 1, then both of these are 1, and we can forget about them for now. 60 over 360 is 1/6, and now we can cross multiply. 1 times 2 pi is 2 pi, and 6 times x is 6x. If we divide both sides by 6, we get x is equal to pi over 3. So now we can change this to pi over 3. We can get rid of this stuff. Now if we drop a line right here, we'll make this a triangle, and we can get rid of all this other stuff. Let's shrink the 60, and let's shrink the pi over 3, and let's move it down here. This is a right triangle with this being the hypotenuse, and then relative to the 60 degrees, this is the adjacent side, and in a 30, 60, 90 triangle, the adjacent is always half of the hypotenuse. This other side is the opposite, and if we do Pythagorean theorem, we will find out that it has a length of root 3 over 2. So if we take the cosine of an angle, like this 60 degrees, it's the ratio of the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. In our case, cosine of 60 degrees is equal to 1/2 over 1. And that's the same thing as just 1/2. Earlier, we figured out this pi over 3 was the same thing as 60 degrees. So we know that the cosine of pi over 3 is also 1 over 2. And we can put a box around that. In fact, let's put a box around all this stuff. So now what does this mean? This is called the cosine inverse. If we take the output of the cosine, put it inside the cosine inverse, our answer is the input for the cosine. So this is what cosine inverse means. You just switch your input and your output. And we can put a box around this. This is the general case. If you have a cosine of A equals B over C, then cosine inverse of B over C will equal A. Inverse just swaps the input and the output. Let's scoot this down. Now, what does this mean? Cosine A to the -1. It looks a lot like this down here, but it means something different. It means you just do 1 over the cosine. And another name we have for this is the secant of A. So they look similar, but where that -1 is placed is very important. One is taking the inverse of the function, and the other is taking the reciprocal. So in this case, if we do the cosine pi over 3 to the -1, we're going to flip this 1/2 to give us 2 over 1. And that'd also be the secant of pi over 3. So in general for this, if the cosine of A equals B over C, then cosine A to the -1 is going to be equal to C over B. We just flip the fraction. This top blue box is the inverse, and this bottom one is the secant. So ultimately, we can conclude that cosine inverse of x does not equal the secant of x. I hope this helps. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.